short film, but it was shot on 35. It was, back in the day, the Film Commission did commission short films that were used as shorts in theatres. They were designed to be shown in the theatre, and this was, obviously. And so you've got a full feature film crew, pretty much, small one, but you're operating on a 12-minute, 11-minute, 10-minute film. And they were called bonsai epics at the time, thus named by Jim Booth. And they were extremely useful learning experience. Now, they were a learning experience usually for directors and producers, but in this case it was me. I was the one that was learning, and I just put good people around and watched them make the mistakes. I was the runner on the film that I'd raised the finance for, and that was, I did stills as well. And that was great, it was brilliant, because the people on the film, the crew didn't know that I was actually the person driving it and had got it together, and I got to see how it all worked. I never made a documentary before, and it was on a very personal subject. So what I did, I surrounded myself with people that were very, very experienced. And so Monique Oman and I worked together on that. Now, obviously I was part of the family, extended family, but I needed someone totally independent to come in and tell the story. So I had to stand right back. I'd actually do one interview, and that was only decided on the spur of the moment by the director, who, it was with Elizabeth's youngest son, and he had had a hugely difficult time over the whole process of his mum dying, and they had fought terribly about issues around it. And so Monique knew that I was the one that knew, and he would talk to me. He couldn't bullshit to me and cut corners. And so, hey, but that was just done. I just had a glass of wine with a young fella to get him on his way, and she said, oh, by the way, you're doing the interview. We were very aware of the, Eve story, that she had contracted AIDS through blood transfusion, and then she was in an Australian school, and the school didn't want her, chucked her out. In those days was huge ignorance about that, and so we then wanted to do that story, do her story, and her mother was very supportive of us doing it, and in the end we picked on the idea of just taking that girl in the last year of her life, really, going with her, and how does a wee kid like that deal with death? Another documentary about dying, that was a good look, very tough emotionally for those of us involved, particularly for the director. Anyway, but it was a wonderful journey to go on with this inspirational kid, and of course it's just sad that now that wouldn't have happened, but it did then, and it's a very powerful one. We couldn't get the kind of budget to do a Big Brother kind of thing, with cameras in every bloody room. And so what we did was we said, okay, well then, rather than get a whole pile of, pretty young things to go and live in a place together, what happens? Well, we have flats. Everyone flats. In this case, well, why don't we just put a flatmate in? We put a flatmate into the flat, and that flatmate films their experience and the experience of others, and that's the deal. You couldn't have scripted that. It was just wonderful, a revelation of how young New Zealanders actually deal with stuff, and how they get on together, and out of it came, oh, the house got trashed once with the party, before social media, but phones were still in existence, so thousands turned up to a house party. Never mind. The landlord was quite understanding, and luckily he had good insurance. Fairgo had been going for years at that stage, and my idea was, well, there's room for 2 shows. There's room for 2 series that deal with consumer issues. And I felt at that stage that, Fairgo had become a bit toothless and was just going through the motions, and it was so easy. I understand why, because it was so easy to get stories. But I thought, well, let's point of difference, we'll actually go and film people doing it. And so we got there, and out of that came a huge amount of change. Within the first couple of years, electrical regulations had been considerably changed, because what we demonstrated, well, I was able to demonstrate by indirectly, was that it wasn't always the tradesperson that was at fault. It was often the regulations were inadequate. This is our 10th year, I think it is, which is pretty amazing that we've kept that kind of idea alive. But there is nothing else, no one else doing that. No one's doing media review. Now what we're delivering is a half hour, some extra online material, and then we do a 1 hour show on Sundays. So Tuesday night it goes out, Sundays. So we're actually, for the same resources, everyone's really working hard to make it work, and we have a relationship with staff. So we also get a clip goes out, and this has just been new this season. So every year we've evolved. So this is our current evolution, is that we're actually now taking and going with an online content as well, and getting people, driving people back from there to the network, or at least to the on-demand stuff. So that's been fun. That's been interesting, challenging as hell, but interesting. The whole idea of guardianship of stories, whether it's music or it's visual stories, I think it's a hugely important part of our culture. Really, really important that we have our own stories, and we tell them fearlessly, well, as fearless as our lawyers will allow us to tell them, and our broadcasters. But I think it's hugely important. I'm really proud to be part of that industry, and I've got no idea where it's going to go. I'm not going anywhere in a hurry. I'll make more films.